Chapter 1251, Destroy the City. Lujian Pass was broken just like that? Was it that easy? The head of the family looked at his slave in shock. Are you sure? How long ago did the Weiwu army leave Nanging City? Even if they advanced at full speed, it would have only been 2 hours since they arrived at Lujian Pass. How did they break through just like that? Not only have they broken through, said the slave as he panted, the Lujian Pass no longer exists. Lujian Pass has been destroyed. Someone shouted in shock. The wealthy families in the palace seemed to have received this piece of news at the same time. Then, everyone fell silent. Lujian Pass was distinguished in the history of the universe. Many battles had happened at Lujian Pass. Every battle won proved how sturdy Lujian Pass was. Currently, Duanmu Huangqi controlled Lujian Pass. Even when he gathered the 200,000 soldiers, he did not use the guards from Lujian Pass. Thus, the wealthy families in the palace assumed that even if Lujian Pass was eventually destroyed, it would only happen a month later. But just when they had said this, they were slapped in the face with the news. But this was because they did not know that Lu Shu had obtained the armor that shook mountains. Duanmu Huangqi did not even want to face this item. They also did not know that Lu Shu had advanced to the Master Realm on Earth. In reality, no one had expected this. To the wealthy families in the palace, Lu Shu had only advanced to rank 1 when he left the palace. They had no doubt that the strange and massive heavenly vision belonged to Lu Shu. How long had it been since that vision? Not even 1 year. Who would have expected that Lu Shu would have advanced to the Master Realm? If there was information asymmetry, there would be a world of difference. The guards at Lujian Pass did not expect that this would happen. Thus, when the Weiwu army arrived, although the commander of the guards knew that they might not be able to defend the pass, he shouted, "Fight to the death. Don't retreat." But when the group of Imperial Palace soldiers started to run wildly, they felt that something was wrong. Zhang Weiyu and the rest displayed a stubborn aura as they accelerated in the sky. Lu Shu did not immediately attack, as Li Liang wanted to show him the greatest defensive structure in the universe. He also wanted to show him how the Imperial Palace soldiers would destroy this defensive structure. The Lujian Pass was situated between 2 mountain ranges. The mountains were lofty and steep. Zhang Weiyu and the rest could fly over, but Li Haitan and the others could not. Suddenly, a hidden door on the wall of Lujian Pass opened. Behind the hidden door were guards. Each group of 12 guards worked together and pushed a massive crossbow. Before Zhang Weiyu and the rest could get closer, the 12 soldiers drew the crossbow and prepared to strike. Platinum veins started to appear on the crossbow and on the arrow. The silver arrows flew towards Zhang Weiyu and the rest with a roar. It flew through the air at a speed faster than Zhang Weiyu and the rest. Lu Shu wanted to attack, but was stopped by Li Liang. "Great Lord, do not panic. We are prepared." The moment the crossbow fired, Zhang Weiyu led the others to descend. They knew that the crossbows existed from the very beginning and were prepared. As the commander of the Black Feather Army, how could he not have known that this trump card existed in Lujian Pass? The crossbow was called the Silver Wing. It was used to attack and kill rank 1 experts who flew to the pass. The dust that Zhang Weiyu and the rest kicked up while they ran seemed to be able to reach Lujian Pass. The black armor made them look like beasts that swept over the land. They were ferocious. They did not intend to fly up again. Instead, over 50 Imperial Palace soldiers worked together and crashed into the section of the city wall. Black hexagons appeared on the armor that shook mountains they were wearing and formed a wall. They crashed into the city wall. Closely after, the black energy shot out from the armor that shook mountains like flames from hell. The force of the collision circulated around the sign and returned to Lujian Pass. Cracks started to appear at the bottom of Lujian Pass. They started to stretch upwards. No one expected that Zhang Weiyu and the rest would break through Lujian Pass with such direct and explosive power. They used the characteristics of the armor that shook mountains and the speed of over 50 soldiers to destroy the foundation of Lujian Pass. The cracks at the bottom were like spider webs that continued to spread upwards. Within the cracks, the energy transmitted by the armor that shook mountains was like black lightning that continued to travel upwards. The commander of the guards, who had told his soldiers to fight to the death, looked at his surroundings in shock. Even the peaks that they had relied on as natural shields were shaking. Lu Shu calmly watched this happen. This was the first time the over 50 rank 1 experts released all the energy in the armor that shook mountains. The destruction that this combined power could bring about was frightening. Run away! The commander of Lujian Pass roared. Lujian Pass is about to be destroyed. But it was too late for them to run away. Cracks started to appear in the city wall they were standing on. The energy transmitted by the armor that shook mountains started to flow out of the cracks. It was like how the pool of fire in hell started to gobble up lives. Ouyang Lishang had said that the armor that shook mountains was the natural enemy of city walls in this world. No dull force could cause harm to the armor that shook mountains. This was the significance behind shook mountains. Less than 1 hour after Lu Shu and the others arrived at Lujian Pass, the famous Lujian Pass was destroyed. They had not simply broken through. Everywhere the Imperial Dragon soldiers went, nothing was left behind other than a pile of remains. No wonder the old King of Gods had given the armor that shook mountains to Duanmu Huangqi, who was in charge of attacking cities and seizing territories. Furthermore, Duanmu Huangqi was always able to lead his men and attack the enemy campsite from behind using the armor that shook mountains. Back then, the old King of Gods did not have many capable soldiers and Duanmu Huangqi was only a rank 1. Lu Shu looked at Lujian Pass, which has been easily destroyed. He praised them. Magnificent. Li Haitan and the others stood by the side with nothing to do. They could only watch as Zhang Weiyu and the rest peacefully withdrew after their spectacular feat. They had promised to attack cities and seize territories together, but only 50 people had destroyed the city just like that. But Li Haitan and the rest knew that Lu Shu still had a few dozen sets of the armor that shook mountains. This was the reason the rest of the people in the Imperial Dragon soldiers worked hard. They all knew that the next person who advanced to rank 1 would be the next person to don the armor that shook mountains. Thus, although they looked like they were not doing anything, they were actually training in secret. They were saving their strength. After the Weiwu army was formed, they had never properly trained. They immediately started to carry boulders. Compared to those days, training while standing was like child's play. There was probably no other army in the universe that dared to go through such hellish risks to train. With the average strength of the Imperial Dragon soldiers, any of them would be able to become a commander in another army. Lu Shu looked at Li Haitan's jealous gaze. He smiled. Do you know why you are still not able to wear the armor that shook mountains? Li Haitan thought about it for a while. Then he said, probably because I didn't eat the mutton. Lu Shu was speechless. Chapter 1252, Never Forget. It will echo back. When the mountains and Lujian Pass collapsed, Li Haitan's voice resonated clearly and confidently. The Imperial Dragon soldiers beside him laughed out loud. After this battle, even though their relatives were not involved, they were affected by the tense atmosphere. The mutton was at the back of their minds. Only Li Haitan remembered. Lu Shu was upset. Do you want to eat mutton that badly? Li Haitan's stomach started to growl. Even the sound of the mountains collapsing could not drown out the sound. Lu Shu did not know whether to laugh or to cry. Li Haitan was starving. Li Haitan said with embarrassment, never forget. It will echo back. Lu Shu was silent. This low level of culture easily made him a joke. Lu Shu unkindly said, sure. I will let you eat mutton tonight. As Lu Shu spoke, Zhang Weiyu and the rest flew into the air. They looked for guards who had miraculously survived in the collapsed mountain. Then, they killed these survivors. In this war, it was life or death. Lu Shu would not be soft-hearted. Not only did they have to eliminate all the effective strength in the West region, Lu Shu had to gather distress points for himself and break through the 6th level of Nebula. The mastermind behind this had probably advanced to the Master Realm. Lu Shu was racing against time. He would only be able to fight the mastermind face to face when he freed himself from the Master Realm. Lu Shu was no longer the young man who did not even want the title of king. He would make a decision, and be fully willing to pay the price for that decision, even if he had to stain his hands with blood. But Lu Shu was thinking of a problem. There were many opportunities for the mastermind to personally kill him. After all, the person probably already knew his identity. If not, why would they have created such a major plan targeting the Earth? But why had the mastermind not killed him? Lu Shu suddenly felt that he might have something they needed. Furthermore, this item made them have to wait. This was a logical guess. Lu Shu could not find any other answers. This answer seemed absurd, but if the other answers were all eliminated, what was left would definitely be the truth. Recently, Lu Shu had been paying attention to his system's back end. He wanted to see whether any special names had appeared, but there was nothing. Had they obtained a method to conceal their distress points? Continuous screams of grief came from the direction of Lujian Pass. The mighty pass had been buried under the landslide of the mountain. There were people who had survived this ordeal, but they would definitely be unable to defend themselves from Zhang Weiyu and the others. Lu Shu had finished grilling the mutton. He looked at Li Haitan's expectant gaze. He unkindly said, "You said so yourself. You are unable to wear the armor that shook mountains because you didn't eat mutton. Let me see what happens when you eat mutton." As Lu Shu spoke, he cut a large slab of mutton and passed it to Li Haitan. The skin had turned yellow from the grilling. The fragrance of the mutton wafted through the mountains. Li Haitan cheerily received the meat. "I will be good as long as there is meat to eat." Several pieces of mutton were finished up by Li Haitan in seconds. His intentions were immediately exposed. Suddenly, Lu Shu felt that something was wrong. He looked up to the sky. The clouds were moving strangely. Wait a minute. Lu Shu looked as Li Haitan rocketed into the sky. Then, he calmly looked to the sky. What in the world? The next moment, the clouds that were moving quickly in the sky suddenly turned a golden yellow shade. Then, the smell of grilled mutton wafted throughout a radius of 8 kilometers. The fragrance filled everyone's nostrils. Li Haitan had advanced to rank 1 at this moment. Lu Shu was shocked. He was able to advance to rank 1 just like that? But what was with your heavenly vision? Were your parents related to Chen Xuan's parents? In the past, Chen Bailey had told Lu Shu that people with simple thoughts and easily understood intentions advanced to rank 1 most easily. Back then, Lu Shu did not believe this. But Li Haitan had advanced to rank 1 just like that. Even if Lu Shu did not want to believe this, he could not. Back then, the bandit Li Haitan had been abandoned by the Azure Dragon Village because of his honesty. Now, as Lu Shu's underling, his talents shone. Li Haitan praised Lu Shu simply and honestly. He said that Lu Shu was much stronger than his previous master, as no matter what Li Haitan said, Lu Shu would never be truly angry with him. Li Haitan had maintained his frank personality. It had never changed. But he had become the first person who advanced to rank 1 out of the Azure Dragon Village students. Li Haitan looked at Lu Shu. His eyes lit up. "Great Lord, where is my armor that shook mountains?" Lu Shu calmly said, "You don't need the armor that shook mountains." Li Haitan was stunned. "Why?" Lu Shu unkindly said, "Your head is so hard. Do you still need the armor that shook mountains?" Li Haitan was confused. From Li Haitan's distress, plus 999. The Imperial Dragon soldiers beside them started to laugh. They had frequently been angered by Li Haitan, but no one paid much attention. In the end, Lu Shu gave Li Haitan a set of the armor that shook mountains. A new high-ranking official appeared among the Imperial Dragon soldiers. "Great Lord, where do we go next? Are we following our original plan?" Li Liang asked after taking off his helmet. "We will follow our original plan and kill our way to the West capital. I want to know how far we have to go to force the mastermind out." Lu Shu smiled. He was very relaxed. Even though he was not yet able to free himself from the master realm, so what? He was the king. The palace was shocked by the news that Lujian Pass had been destroyed. Typically, even if a war occurred, no one would hear that a strategic pass had been destroyed. Most of the time, people had broken through and taken control of the pass. But Lu Shu and the rest used Lujian Pass to deliver an important message to everyone else. Lu Shu and the rest did not plan on seizing any territory. They would kill their way through. They would not surrender or stop until they reached the West capital. This was different from the wars in the past. In the past, wars were started for the resources and people in a city. But it was as if Lu Shu and the rest had started a war to destroy. This method was very violent, to the point that it was hard for people to accept. The wealthy families in the palace put themselves in this position. If they faced this kind of enemy, what should they do? They did not quite like this kind of destroyer. No matter how strong they would not like this kind of destroyer, as Lu Shu and the rest were not rational. But so what? So what if they did not like him? Did they dare to stand up against Lu Shu? No. Humans were strange animals. The weaker you were when you faced them, the more they would think that you were easy to bully. But when you displayed your strength that was able to destroy them, they would be afraid. Lu Shu now needed the entire universe to fear him. This way, he would be able to grow, even if the people who feared him were simply aristocrats from wealthy families. That night, Lu Shu lit up the third star in the 6th level of Nebula. He had amassed a few 100 million distress points. He waited and waited for the fear to spread. Chapter 1253, Imperial Edict. At this moment, the aristocrats of the palace had to quickly get ready for the reshuffling of positions. Although nobody would like to believe that a Lord of Heaven would fall, if that day arrived, everyone could only face the choices. Nobody had challenged a Lord of Heaven like that before in the universe. Therefore, the wealthy families of the palace did not know what would happen if the Lord of Heaven died. Would Lu Shu take over as the next West Lord of Heaven? "Is there nobody left in the palace of the King of Gods?" asked one of the masters who sat in the courtyard. Why was nobody doing anything to stop the chaotic situation of the universe? Ever since Duanmu Huangqi challenged the Sword Hut, ever since the Wei Wu army rode their horses in the palace, this suspicion lingered in everyone's minds. Nobody knew what exactly happened to the palace of the King of Gods, and nobody dared to enter to take a look. However, if the new King of Gods was really still in the palace of the King of Gods, why did he not come out to do something? The situation in the universe suddenly became uncertain. Be it the aristocrats or the wealthy families, everyone was facing danger. Sun Zhongyang, the prince of the palace who had once worked with Lu Shu, waited at the backyard of the Sun family. The other families gathered in the main hall to discuss matters, and only Sun Zhongyang's generation remained quiet. That was because Sun Xuanwen was still in his closed-doors cultivation. Previously, when Lu Shu killed his way along the limestone road, Sun Xuanwen swore that he would not open his doors until he reached the Master Realm. Many people mocked him for restricting himself to the area and locking himself up. After all, it was not easy to make a breakthrough to the Master Realm. Since the last thousands of years, there had never been masters amongst the wealthy families in the palace. People had hoped to achieve that in the past, but eventually gave up. The master with the greatest possibility of advancing to the Master Realm said that the wealthy families should just stay put and serve the old King of Gods. If they were not masters, they might be able to live a long life. If they became masters, people might become wary of them. How could they allow the prowess of the old king of gods to be admired by others? This sentence gradually became the standards of the wealthy families. They gradually gave up on the thought of advancing to the master realm and was satisfied with being rank 1. However, Sun Xuanwen did not agree with this idea. When he was younger, he laughed at the ancestors for being dumb. Would the old king of gods, as a deity, care if one was a master or a rank 1? All of these were nothing to him. According to Sun Xuanwen, the words that the ancestors had said were unnecessary worries. The masters could not even take any of the attacks by the old king of gods. Why would the old king of gods be wary of them? Therefore, when Sun Xuanwen was young, he had the aspiration to achieve the master realm. He had never slacked off and had the purest mind amongst the wealthy families of the palace. This time when Lu Shu brought the imperial dragon soldiers back, the wealthy families of the palace had yet to know what had happened to the Wei Wu army. When the Sun family were discussing things, the other relatives felt that it would be better if Sun Xuanwen remained behind his closed doors. This would eliminate the most powerful descendant in the battle for the position of the master of the family. As everyone knew that the old master in the Sun family liked Sun Xuanwen the most. That was because he had once said that Sun Xuanwen could bring a new beginning for the Sun family. Now that the old master was about to die, this was something that could happen anytime. Of course, the other branches of the family would not want to hand Sun Xuanwen over. In the main living room, the old manager asked, "Should we call Prince Sun Zhongyang over? It would be for the best if the second family could participate in the discussion." The old manager had followed the current master for hundreds of years and was also a rank 1 expert. Therefore, when they spoke in the family, their voices could be heard. The other families said after being stunned, "How dare you, old brat, talk about the family matters of the Sun family?" The old master decided to keep quiet. He did not speak much. He knew that it was only a matter of days before it happened and he could not wait for Sun Xuanwen to open his doors. This was what happened in the wealthy families. At this moment, even the master could not do anything he wanted as he needed to take all factors into consideration. How would he be able to train with all the restrictions troubling him? "I am sure you all know why I called for everyone," said the master frailly as he sat on the main seat. "The Sun family did not do anything on the day when the Wei Wu army rode the horses into the palace, because we did not know the young man had the ability that made him on par with the Lord of Heaven. Now, I would like to ask for your opinions. Should we befriend him or remain like this?" "Father, we cannot befriend him," someone said. "The most annoying thing for the palace of the King of Gods is to have someone making a mess. Now, even though nobody dares to take care of the Wei Wu army, someone would eventually take care of them. The other lords of heaven would definitely do something. Even if they don't do anything now, in the future, someone would challenge them, and I believe that they won't allow the Wei Wu army to start this. We are able to maintain our status till date because we don't stir troubles." "Father, please don't act foolishly," someone else said desperately. However, at this moment, everyone looked into the sky. That was because they looked through the door of the main hall and suddenly saw that the sky had turned gold. Some people were confused. The gold light was both foreign and familiar. However, the light was too special and that evoked many people's memories. This is the order given by the palace of the King of Gods. Everyone ran out. Almost everyone in the palace saw this strange phenomenon at the same time and they looked into the sky. They saw a roll glowing with golden light unroll gradually and the words were printed in the sky. It was as though someone wrote the words in the sky. "Wei Wu army have wreaked havoc, the soldiers are to attack the following day." Everyone looked at each other in shock. After more than 10 years, the palace of the King of Gods made an imperial edict again for the wealthy families of the palace to participate in this battle. It had been years since they saw the imperial edict. Why did it suddenly appear today? Just as everyone had guessed that there was nobody left in the palace of the King of Gods, an imperial edict suddenly came and wanted them to kill the Wei Wu army. The wealthy families of the palace did not know what to do and did not understand what had happened. However, at this moment, the house that Sun Xuanwen had locked himself in suddenly opened. It was extremely peaceful inside. Sun Zhongyang stood up and said in surprise, "Father?" Sun Xuanwen stepped into the void after taking a glance at him. The thunder clouds above his head that had just gathered followed him to a faraway place. Sun Xuanwen chose to stay in a mountain that was miles away from the palace. The lightning was almost as bright as the imperial edict. The Sun family and the wealthy families of the palace were all shocked. Sun Xuanwen had really become the first master of the wealthy families of the palace. Although the aura of the lightning was not strong, it was enough to make one feel fearful. However, before they could react, the lightning had already dispersed. Sun Xuanwen stepped back into the main hall of the Sun family and said as he saw the old master, "Father, please pass down the position of the master of the family." Chapter 1254, New Beginning for the Sun Family. The place was completely silent. Who would expect Sun Xuanwen to suddenly make a breakthrough and achieve a feat that nobody in the wealthy families of the palace had managed in the past thousands of years? He was a master. A rank 1 expert's life expectancy was 800 years, but a master could live more than 3,000 years. If Sun Xuanwen became the master of the family, nobody would have a chance in the future. By then, the Sun family would become Sun Xuanwen's. But what could they do? Who would be able to do anything to a master at this time? At this moment, the palace experienced a turn of events. Before the wealthy families could regain their senses from the astonishment they got from the imperial edict, the first master of the wealthy families had appeared. In the past, the palace had 5 upper wealthy families and 9 lower wealthy families. In the future, the Sun family would definitely outshine the others. Everyone had become too used to the status quo. The dynasty before the old king of gods only lasted for several hundreds of years before the fall of the kings. If the kings could maintain the current status quo, what about the wealthy families? Moreover, Sun Xuanwen suddenly appeared and caused panic amongst the wealthy families. In the past, people did not expect masters to emerge from the palace. Moreover, how could they allow the prowess of the old king of gods to be admired by others, to hide their embarrassment? Now, could they still hide their embarrassment? Sun Xuanwen saw his father keep silent and continued speaking respectfully. The Sun family did not manage to act in time during the occasion on the limestone road. This caused us to miss the best opportunity to rely on the young man. Now, since the palace of the King of Gods have given its orders, everything on earth has been given to Lu Shu. This is our last chance. After saying this, everyone in the Sun family was astonished. Do you know what you are saying? The order came from the palace of the King of Gods, you dare to disobey it? Sun Xuanwen took a side glance at the rest. If I disobey the order, my whole family will be in trouble too. All of you better shut up. Moreover, there's nobody in the palace of the King of Gods, and I wonder who is the one faking the imperial edict. A family was like that and everyone was dragged into the matter. If Sun Xuanwen insisted on his actions, the Sun family could only continue following Sun Xuanwen's path. Do you have evidence? Frowned the master of the Sun family. I don't have evidence, but I am very certain, said Sun Xuanwen politely. Do you really think that the young man and the Wei Wu army can win? Asked the master of the Sun family. Yes, said Sun Xuanwen. Father, have you ever seen anyone's heavenly visions extend for hundreds of miles? No, I haven't, sighed the master of the Sun family as he shook his head. Father, have you seen anyone who is able to kill 12 patrons when he is only a rank 1? No, I haven't. Father, have you seen anyone who claimed that they wanted to kill the Lord of Heaven? No, I haven't. Father, have you seen anyone who dared to ride horses in the palace? No, I haven't. Father, have you ever seen anyone from the Sword Hut who attacked because of others? Asked Sun Xuanwen seriously. What do all of you think about Lu Shu's status in the Sword Hut? Have any of you thought about which side the sword hut stands on? Everyone kept silent. Yes, Lu Shu was a disciple of the sword hut. The senior disciple of the sword hut had once attacked Duanmu Huangqi because of Lu Shu, but what about now? How would the sword hut make its choice? Everyone knew that ever since the old king of gods left, the sword hut and the palace of the king of gods were no longer close. So was it possible for the sword hut to make a complete break with the palace of the king of gods? You are the one who says that the sword hut would make a complete break with the palace of the king of gods because of Lu Shu. I don't believe it, someone said coldly. Then the problem comes, said Sun Xuanwen calmly. What if there's nobody in the palace of the king of gods? Can you still imagine what will happen? I am not asking all of you to attack and kill, all of you can just stand behind me and the name Sun Xuanwen. I will bring about a new beginning for the Sun family. In the past, Sun Xuanwen was a learned and refined person. Now, after he reached the master realm, his tone became more charismatic. He knew that it was a gamble. If he lost, he would end up in the dark abyss. However, so what? The palace of the king of gods was planning to push the wealthy families to die. The wealthy families of the palace who had lived in comfort all their lives would definitely lose to the Wei Wu army. Moreover, the Wei Wu army were worse than hungry wolves. Sun Xuanwen was unable to confirm what they were. However, if they won the gamble, Sun Xuanwen would be able to continue bringing luck to the Sun family for 3,000 years. However, Sun Xuanwen was suspecting it himself. If there was nobody left in the palace of the king of gods, then who was the person who pretended to give the imperial edict? The master of the Sun family said, "Kneel down, Sun Xuanwen." Sun Xuanwen lifted his shirt and knelt on the ground before making 3 bows respectfully. Then, the master of the Sun family said, "Today, I pass the position as the master to Sun Xuanwen. You will bear the honor and shame of the family. I hope you think before you act in the future and bring about new beginnings for the Sun family." After he said that, the master of the Sun family left as though he fulfilled one of his wishes. Sun Xuanwen stood up and said to Sun Zhongyang, who had just arrived, "Bring 200 people and head to the west now." "Father, is 200 people too little?" Sun Zhongyang was shocked. "It's not too little, there's no purpose even if you bring 200 or 20,000 people. You have to remember that the main character is still the Wei Wu army. We are only going to complain about them. From now on, the Sun family will no longer work with the other wealthy families of the palace. If there are any fence-sitters in the clan, I, Sun Xuanwen, will kill them personally," said Sun Xuanwen calmly. The most hated person in this world were fence-sitters. They claimed to help the Wei Wu army but were affiliated with other people and caused problems. At the end of the day, both sides were offended. "Father, what if the Wei Wu army do not accept our complaint?" asked Sun Zhongyang. Sun Xuanwen sighed after giving it some thought. "We are a step too late." According to Sun Xuanwen, the Wei Wu army had attained its aura. The best timing for them would have been the night when they were at the limestone road. However, at that time, none of the wealthy families of the palace dared to bow down to a young man. The wealthy families of the palace began to move. When Sun Zhongyang brought 200 people out of the city, he suddenly realized that the other wealthy families brought quite a few people too. The number of the Sun family was not the least. After all, nobody wanted to be associated with wicked doings or be sacrificed. Therefore, it would be good to send some people to check out the situation first. Nobody knew that the Sun family was not there to surround the Wei Wu army. Who knew that Sun Xuanwen had the courage? Sun Zhongyang had always respected his father. Therefore, he agreed with Sun Xuanwen's decision. For some reason, when Sun Zhongyang thought about how the Sun family went against the whole world, he anticipated it. The young man who had once worked with him was now standing at the peak in the world. He was neither indignant or jealous, but instead hoped that the young man could reach greater heights. That was the only way to prove that he and his father Sun Xuanwen were not wrong. Chapter 1255, Complain. Lujian Pass was the first dangerous pass near the west region. However, breaking through Lujian Pass did not mean that the road ahead was a wide expanse of flat land. Lu Shu had to continue conquering the cities with the Imperial Dragon soldiers. He did not have a special interest in conquering the cities, but it was the best way for him to obtain distress points. At this moment, Lu Shu had commanded Lu Xiaoyu to take over, as that was the only way for her to obtain the fruits she deserved. The distress points were awarded in double the amount to Lu Shu. The person who owned the dark map was like a mini version of the celestial map. He could obtain the immense amount of distress points from the celestial map too. Lu Shu would be able to level up even if he did nothing and left Lu Xiaoyu to kill in the open. Lu Shu was thinking about what filth removal said to him. It seemed as though the person who studied the dark map had planned for the celestial map to swallow everything of the dark map. That was because the dark map was the last key before opening the celestial map. However, this was not important for Lu Shu and he did not care about it. At this moment, he only hoped that Lu Xiaoyu could reach the Master Realm so that Lu Xiaoyu could be better at protecting herself. Although Lu Xiaoyu was one of the most powerful in the universe as she had 3 masters with her, she was too weak if her original self was only rank 1. It was not that rank 1 was weak, but rather because her opponent was too powerful. The distress points continuously entered through Lu Xiaoyu's dark map. Lu Shu was calculating how long Lu Xiaoyu needed to reach the Master Realm and continued to attack cities. One had to admit that it was no wonder that the old King of Gods left the armor that shook mountains on earth. It was beyond Lu Shu's imagination, when more than 50 rank 1 experts wore the armor that shook mountains. They were invincible. In fact, Lu Shu thought about a question. The armor of the Flood of Bronze were all given to the Heavenly Network, but the old King of Gods definitely did not expect that. Therefore, the bronze armor were things that he left for himself. When Lu Shu entered the Lopner remains, he just had to obtain the formation and could obtain the armor for the Imperial Dragon soldiers and the Imperial Palace soldiers, without purchasing them. However, Lu Shu did not think that it was wasted if he gave the bronze armor to the Heavenly Network. Or rather, one should not look at this matter in this manner. Moreover, back then, Lu Shu purchased the magical armor insanely in the universe. There was a limit to the magical armor. If he bought all of them, others would not be able to wear them. At this moment, if people gathered and formed a troop with several tens of thousands of soldiers who wore the magical armor, Lu Shu would face a challenge. At the very least, some of the Imperial Dragon soldiers would be injured. One had to admit that this was probably one of the unintentional things that Lu Shu had done. Take away the armor of others so that they could not wear them. Actually, Zhang Weiyu and the rest had realized this problem. In their impression, there should be many magical weapons in the West region, especially because there should be an elite troop that was fully equipped in the city. They had just attacked. Why did they not see anyone when they attacked? They eventually figured out that it was because Lu Shu had taken away all their armor. At this moment, Lu Shu said, "I expected this battle to happen and hence made the preparations beforehand." Zhang Weiyu and the rest were surprised. Brilliant, great lord. When the group of people flattered Lu Shu, Lu Xiaoyu began to roll her eyes. Before Li Haitan wanted to speak, he was shut up by Coral. When the Imperial Dragon soldiers attacked the cities at the rate of 1 city per day, the intelligence reports were received one by the wealthy families of the palace. At this moment, Lu Shu was still unaware of the imperial edict in the palace of the King of Gods. However, even if he had known, he would not bother about it because after all, they were waiting for the person behind the scenes to attack. There was only the possibility for Lu Shu to receive the other party's clue if they attacked. However, Sun Zhongyang was anxious. That was because he had calculated the time and distance and realized that the Imperial Dragon soldiers would reach the West capital in about 20 days. If he did not reach by then, or did not reach before Lu Shu killed Duanmu Huangqi, it would be insignificant for them to follow Lu Shu. The meaning and treatment before and after Lu Shu killed Duanmu Huangqi was completely different. Sun Zhongyang and the rest were rushing over without a break. Initially, the prince of the palace had gotten dusty and dirty because he was rushing over. When they were resting to eat, a slave wanted to help him comb his messy hair but was stopped by Sun Zhongyang. I want to rush over like this so that he knows my sincerity. After hearing that, the slave went back to do other things. Sun Zhongyang opened the map and calculated. If we continue at this pace, we can probably meet Lu Shu 3 days earlier than we thought. We still have time. For some reason, Sun Zhongyang had never thought that Lu Shu would lose to Duanmu Huangqi. He did not know when he formed this level of trust in Lu Shu. Or rather, it was not trust but rather because the young man was too powerful. Sun Zhongyang would rather follow his father, Sun Xuanwen, and believe that Lu Shu would revolutionize this world. Moreover, the Sun family could not bear the consequences of losing. Now, Sun Zhongyang was worried that they could not make it on time. Every time they passed by a fortress, the person in charge of the city from the Sun family would provide new horses for Sun Zhongyang and the soldiers. All of the horses were specially groomed and were at least rank 2. They were usually used for intelligence reports. However, since the messenger mirror had been developed, the horses became rather useless. However, the families did not kill the horses and now, they became useful. Although Sun Zhongyang could fly, most of the people in his group could not. At this moment, Sun Zhongyang suddenly heard sounds of footsteps behind him. He turned around and saw the Song family rushing over. Not only had the Song family rushed over, the other big families rushed over too. 9 plus 5 gave 14 families in total. All of them arrived continuously. Sun Zhongyang was bothered by this. Although the Sun family was not the first to leave the city, they were the fastest and had left the other wealthy families behind. What was happening? He said calmly, "Why are you guys rushing?" This question stumped the other families. They did not expect Sun Zhongyang to be so direct. After a long while, someone said, "I am not sure why we are rushing too. We just didn't want to lag behind since you were rushing." Sun Zhongyang was silent. The wealthy families behaved in such a manner. Although they could not understand what others were planning, they would follow others' actions. Sun Zhongyang sneered. He was wondering what excuse he could use to complain to Lu Shu. Now, the thing he was looking for had appeared.
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty, man, we just putting on a show. Try to look to the heavens to tell us things that we better.